Welcome to Everyday Martial Artist, a weekly podcast where you'll join me, Brian Doucette, as I interview a different martial artist each episode and hear their story. Some guests you may have heard of, and some you probably haven't. Be sure to subscribe where all your favorite podcasts are available. Also visit our website at everydaymartialartist.com. If you're listening for a specific interview, I sure hope you'll stay and check out the other episodes. A very special thank you to Topher Williams for our custom theme music. And now, the newest episode of Everyday Martial Artist. Everyday Martial Artist is brought to you by KOOnline.com for all your martial arts needs. Sparring and safety gear, rank belts, uniforms, weapons, patches, and more. Wholesale supplies made by martial artists for martial artists. Visit us today at ko-online.com. Hello and welcome to Everyday Martial Artist. I'm your host, Brian Doucette, and as we do every week, we're joined by a brand new guest talking about their life and their journey throughout the world of martial arts. My guest today is head instructor at Taylor Jiu-Jitsu with well over a decade of experience, has trained with such notables as George St. Pierre, Joe Daddy Stevenson, Gray the Bully Maynard, Brandon the Truth Vera, and more. He's first aid and CPR certified. Outside of martial arts, he enjoys action movies, going on drives and exploring small towns, reading, and he's also a foodie with him and his wife, and loves coffee. Please welcome my guest today, Mr. Scott Taylor. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I appreciate your time for doing this. And what we like to do and how we like to kick things off, we want to go back to the very beginning. I want to know how it all started. Where did that first spark come from for you that started your martial arts journey?
All right. So I started around the age of 11.
Okay.
And always the smallest guy getting picked on. So that got me started. I remember watching, I grew up watching more Chuck Norris than I did Bruce Lee.
Nice.
So Chuck Norris was a big influence. And then I remember watching a movie like Best of the Best.
Yes. Love it.
By far my favorite action movie. And I saw the Reed brothers doing things. I'm like, I want to learn that.
Nice.
Just so happened there was a Taekwondo instructor teaching out of a public school that wasn't far from my house. So
okay.
I went and checked them out, and that was the beginning of my journey.
Wow. And do you remember what system of Taekwondo that was? Like which Kwan that was?
ITF.
Okay. And how long did you stay there?
Yep. I was with him for about 11 years, 12 years.
Okay. So what was it about him? What was it about that school, that instructor that made you want to stick with it?
Well, I just liked his attitude. He was no nonsense. It was just pure fighting school. One of our things was like, we never had gloves or anything in school. You either learned how to block or you got punched.
Nice. Okay.
Or kicked.
Did you get into competition when you were there?
No.
You didn't? Okay.
No, never really cared for the competition.
Okay.
I figured we were tough enough just beating each other up. I didn't see the point of competition.
And you said you 11 years, so what belt did you get to under him?
I got to my first Dan under him.
And at any time when you were with him, did you do any teaching at all? Was that something you got involved in?
Yes, I did. I taught for him quite a bit.
Okay. What kind of drew you to that part of martial arts? I know it's definitely not for everybody. What made you want to teach? I
just love helping people, watching people grow. Gives me a good feeling to see people, get past their limit.
Okay. So what then? You said 11 years, first Dan black belt. What came next in your martial arts journey?
Then a lot of people watch this little guy on the TV in UFC, choking people out. I was bigger than him, 1993. So I'm like, well, I got to go learn that. So I found a guy that was teaching jiu-jitsu around the little town I lived in Coburg. Started out there, and that guy had a falling out with the Taekwondo school he was teaching out of at the time, different Taekwondo school.
Okay.
So I just started going to his instructor, Daryl LaFrance, and I've been with Soki Dale LaFrance for 20 years now.
Oh, wow.
So I just stuck with it and never looked back.
And then did you keep up your Taekwondo training at all, or did you go 100% into jiu-jitsu?
More or less went 100% into jiu-jitsu. I still practice my kicks and my three-step sparring, but all my forms, I have forgotten them.
Do you remember which forms you guys did?
Oh.
Was it the Paul Gay forms, the Taeguk forms?
Yeah, I think it was the Taeguk forms.
Okay. Yeah, I never liked those either. So
yeah.
I'm lucky. My instructor never taught us, even though the organization we were in switched to Taeguk. He stuck with the Paul Gay, so we always stuck with the more traditional forms instead. I was never a fan of the Taeguk ones. So
yeah, I can't remember. I can't really remember which ones. I just know the names of like Chung Ji and Tung Sun and stuff like that.
I want to back up a little bit, back to the Taekwondo school. What do you remember? Kind of talk a little bit about your black belt test. What was involved in that, and what are some of the things you had to go through to get your black belt at that school?
Oh, that was so long ago. For that one, had to do all the curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
I had to do 3-step sparring, 1-step sparring, 2-step sparring, and then you had to make up your own 1-step, 2-step, and 3-step sparring techniques.
Oh, cool. That's kind of fun.
And they had to make sense.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Yep.
He was big on I don't want to see any jumping, flying, spinny kicks. Think more self-defense wise.
Did you guys do weapons training? Do you have to do any weapons for your black belt test?
No.
Okay.
No, a lot of sparring.
Yeah.
A lot of getting my ass kicked. I remember that.
Nice. How about breaking? Did you guys do breaking for your tests?
Yep. Did the board breaking and cinder blocks.
What was your hardest break? What was the one you dreaded the most?
The cinder blocks.
Yeah.
If I don't hit this right, I'm going to break my hand.
See, I had to do a brick with my head for my black belt, and that was the one I was terrified going in. I did not want to do it. So.
Oh, I don't blame you.
And the thing is, it's a confidence thing. So if you don't get it, all you're doing is smashing your head into a brick. So it just kind of hurts.
Yeah, exactly.
And any break, if it doesn't break, it hurts. So.
Yeah, exactly. No, I never had to break anything with my head.
Okay, well, that's good. Yeah, maybe that probably explains a lot about me. I don't know. That's why I sit in a room by myself and talk, I suppose, maybe. But. All right, so back to the jiu-jitsu. So what a typical class, and like your first maybe 3-4 classes, what are the first few things you learned, the first few things that you remember that you worked on back then in jiu-jitsu?
Break falling, shrimping, and basic positions.
Okay.
It's not Brazilian jiu-jitsu we do.
Oh, it's
ours
not. Okay.
is actually, and I hate the term Japanese jiu-jitsu, but
right.
We're Japanese based.
Okay.
Just our style focused 95% on the grappling side.
Nice.
We do the stand-up too, and we do kicks and punches.
Mm-hmm. A little more focused on the self-defense side versus the competition, like BJJ. Then I would suppose.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, is there competition for the style you do, or not really?
We can do sport jiu-jitsu, but I know a lot of people in the Brazilian jiu-jitsu community here, so they have no problem if we enter their tournaments.
Okay.
I've never had an issue with anybody, and anytime my guys have gone, they've all been on a podium, so I can't complain.
You said you personally weren't a fan of the competition. Did you ever do the jiu-jitsu competition?
Yep, I did a couple.
Okay. How was that? What do you remember about those?
I won bronze.
Nice.
I remember the one guy got me in an ankle lock and I tapped. And then after he was like, something wrong with your ankle? I go, no, but I have to work Monday. So I'd like to be able to walk.
There you go. What do you think is, so you've done a traditional Korean style stand-up base, then you've done, the other style, the jiu-jitsu style, that's a lot more ground-based. Other than just the stand-up in the ground, what do you think are the biggest differences as far as like someone who knows nothing about martial arts and they're looking at the two styles? What do you think are the biggest differences between a stand-up style versus, a grappling style?
Two different types of cardio. So I remember when I started jiu-jitsu, I'm like, I got good cardio. I can fight. Well, it's a whole different type of cardio when somebody's laying on top of you and they weigh about, 200 pounds.
Yep.
So the cardio aspect changes a little bit. Somebody laying on top of you, you learn to breathe different. You learn to control your breathing, how to make room to breathe.
Right.
When you're doing stand-up, you don't have to worry about that. It's just more endurance cardio standing, I think.
Mm-hmm. That's a great.
And you still control your breathing while you're doing stand-up, but it's slightly different.
Right. And that's a great point. And I've had that conversation with someone. I know years ago I was working with a local MMA fighter, and he's like, oh, my cardio's great. I ride bike 10 miles a day. I'm like, not the same thing. No, I'll be like, not the same thing. I'll be fine. Not the same thing. 45 seconds, he's breathing heavy and I'm tired. Like, yeah, it's not the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. I remember when I started jiu-jitsu and be like, oh my God, these guys are killing me, and be like so worn and exhausted. I used to go in the bathroom, lay on the cold tile floor.
Mm-hmm.
And
Nice.
it's like, oh, I just need a minute.
That's cool. One of the best training exercises I saw is a friend of mine who was getting ready to train for a fight. And the school he was training at, what they did, there was about 20 guys in the class. I think it was about 20 guys in the class. And they basically had all the guys get in a circle, and the guy who had the fight coming up got in the middle. And I don't know, maybe this happens at a lot of schools. It's the first time I had seen it. And basically the instructor had the stopwatch, and every 30 seconds he got a new opponent, but it was rotating. So the first one was stand up, next was ground, stand up, ground. Every 30 seconds he was switching between stand up and ground with no breaks in between, and did that through 20 guys. And he said that's the best training he had for what he called fight cardio he ever had in his life. I'm like, that makes sense. He said that's fight cardio. That's not, not running or biking cardio. It's a lot different. You guys ever do anything like that?
Yeah, that's a little bit, not
Okay.
like that, but that's good. I'm going to have to start doing that to stand up and ground. Yeah, that's a good idea. I know we do it.
Don't tell your guys it was my idea.
No, I know we do it. I know we do it for the ground where
Mm-hmm.
it's just Shark Tank one guy after the other.
Yep.
With no breaks. And we do that for people's birthdays.
Oh, nice.
Your birthday, you're getting Shark Tanked.
That's awesome. I know one of the best things I learned in the Taekwondo school I trained at when I was in college is, when we had a tournament coming up, all these other schools I went to, it's like if you're, say, a Taekwondo tournament was 2 3-minute rounds, they all trained for 2 3-minute rounds. Well, my Taekwondo instructor would train for 3 5-minute rounds. He's like, none of my guys are getting tired. He's like, if you only train for a 3-minute round and there's any kind of pauses or anything, he said, yeah, 3 minutes and 10 seconds, you're going to get tired. He said, if you train for 3 5-minute rounds, you're never going to get tired in a 3-minute round. I'm like, that makes perfect sense. So that's another thing I'm surprised more schools don't do. You got to train for more than the time you're going to fight so you have full energy the whole time.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, so sometimes in class we'll put the timer on for 3 minutes and, guys will grapple for 3 minutes, or sometimes we won't even put a timer on. We'll just go roll one after the other.
There you go. So how long, typical class at your school, about how long does it last?
So we do about a good 15-minute warm-up and then a good 45 minutes of technique and then open mats after.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so if you want to keep working technique on open mats, you can, or go over curriculum, more than welcome, or you just want to roll. Most guys just want to roll.
Yep. And is your school between like kids and adults, is it pretty evenly based, or do you have more kids, more adults?
Pretty evenly based.
Okay.
After the COVID was over, everything just blew back up for us, so it was nice to see.
Did you have to completely close during COVID? Did you do like virtual stuff, or how did that work?
No, completely closed.
For how long?
I found, almost the 2 years.
Oh, man, that's brutal.
Yeah. I tried to do jiu-jitsu over Zoom and stuff, but it's too hard because I can't get in there and correct people. And, your hand has to go here.
Yeah.
It was just too hard.
I'm glad you made a comeback, and all most of your students came back, so that's good. So, like in the area teach, you said you're in Ontario. The area you teach, roughly, do you know roughly how many martial arts schools are, say, within like a 20-mile radius of where your school is?
There's a lot.
Is there? Okay.
It's because we're close to Toronto, so.
I suppose, yeah. Okay. So people have choices. People have, and a lot of them are choosing to go to your school, which says a lot.
Hope it means I'm a good instructor.
That's one thing. Yeah. I mean, I tell anyone who's looking, that's the first thing I said, you got to find a good instructor. You got to find an instructor that you connect with. That's a huge part of it. I've had bad instructors. I mean, I tell lots of people I've had a John Kreese before. So if you're,
really?
Yeah. If you're a Karate Kid fan, you know that I've had a John Kreese. My first Taekwondo instructor was a John Kreese. He was just a bad person. He didn't care about the safety of the students. All he cared about was winning, forced people into competition. That's one reason I never got into competition, because the first time I ever did a tournament, I was forced to. I had no choice in the matter.
Yeah.
So
that's not a good teacher. No.
Yeah. He drove me to the point that I was hating martial arts, and luckily found a new school, but yeah. And he's still teaching. That's what's sad.
I have to say I've been very lucky with my Taekwondo instructor, my jiu-jitsu instructor. They always were encouraging.
Nice.
Well, my jiu-jitsu instructor is still encouraging. My Taekwondo instructor passed away a few years ago.
Oh.
Yeah. Stubborn man he was. He drove himself to the hospital and had a heart attack there.
Wow.
They had to call his wife.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Yeah. But no, he was always very encouraging. He was always telling me, don't stop training, train more styles if you can.
That's cool. Yeah. See, that same Taekwondo instructor tried to forbid me learning other styles. I'm like, you can't do that. You can't stop me from training another style. But he tried to. So
I always hate instructors like that.
Yep, me too.
Just encourage your students, learn more, bring it back. That's what I try to do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. My current instructor,
I love it.
We blend in other styles. He's had, other instructors come in and stuff, and we, learn other things from other people, and we blend it in. And we were one of the first schools in our area that actually started teaching grappling. as a Taekwondo school.
Oh, nice.
So we just started mixing it because my instructor had to learn judo when he was younger and stuff. So he started blending that in. When the UFC came out, he's like, yeah, we're going to start adding this stuff in. So we did.
Yeah, well, I mean, I got lots of different friends that do different styles that I train with.
Nice.
More or less, show me something cool, I'll show you something cool. Let's just exchange ideas.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever bring them into your school for your students and be like, hey, we're going to have a fun night. We're going to learn a little of this style tonight for a half hour or something. You ever do that?
Yep. I got.
How did your students react to that?
Oh, they love it. They like seeing the different styles and, different instructors, the way they teach, what they have to teach. One of our teachers there, he's our kickboxing teacher, who also does Jeet Kune Do in Cali. He's a good friend. So I've done a little bit of stick and knife fighting, a little bit of Jeet Kune Do too. So good to have him in there.
Yeah. Especially with the weapons, with the that's always good to throw in there. So.
Oh yeah, I love stick and knife fighting. I wish I had more time to do it.
Me too. I know we do some in our Taekwondo school, but we don't have any. We don't have. I think our closest Cali school is about 150 miles away, maybe closer to 200. It's a
bit
hike.
of a drive.
Yeah, it's a bit of a drive, especially in the winter in Minnesota. You know how bad winters can be. So we just had another blizzard last night. So. Where I am, I'm near Fargo, North Dakota. I'm right across the border in Minnesota, in a community about probably all of our towns, a little over maybe 250,000. And we have about 35 martial arts schools. Last time I counted, I would say at least 10 of them are probably Taekwondo schools. It's usually the most popular. And then there's a nice blend. I mean, we have, we used to have a Kung Fu school that closed down, but we've had some boxing. We have some Jiu-Jitsu. We have a pure MMA school. We have some Okinawan schools. We have a Shotokan club at one of the colleges. So it's a nice variety. There's options for people. And I said we've had things before where we've had people teach other stuff, which is good, just like you're doing. It's good for your student. Anytime you can teach something new that a student can possibly use, it's worth it. Oh yeah, absolutely. It just helps keep their interest, I think, too. Yep. I know some people are don't like to bring other styles in because they think their students are going to leave. Yep. But I mean, if your student leaves, then, maybe that's the better art for him. Exactly. Or her. I don't tell my students they can't go anywhere else and train, or don't go to that school, or just go out, try it. If you like it better, hey, I have no qualms. And that's a great attitude to have. Yeah. But if you go out and try something, bring it back. Exactly. Yeah. And that's the first time I learned that, because my first two schools I trained at, they didn't really do that. They weren't against it. They just never did that. But one of the first Taekwondo schools I trained at, it was just on a Wednesday night. He's like, oh yeah, tonight we're going to learn some judo. It's like, I think it was Mr. Brandon. Come up here. Mr. Brandon's a brown belt in judo. And he took over the class and we learned judo that night. I'm like, that's really cool. So I'm like, and yeah, he's like, I like doing that whenever, if I know someone who knows something. And I'm like, at the time, I the only other art I really knew was, I think Shotokan and Tung Sido. And I'm like, they're pretty close to Taekwondo, so probably nothing I can teach, but yeah. There's still, it's not as many, but I think back in, when I started, but there's still some that are pretty diehard. They're like, we don't want you doing other stuff. This is the only school you need. Yeah. No. Yeah, there's a few like that up around here still. Yeah, that's too bad. Like if somebody was coming into my dojo just for the night of class and they're of a high rank, I'll give them the floor. Nice. You teach, you show us something cool. Hopefully they pay back the same kind of respect if I ever stopped into theirs. Of course. Which most do. I have never had a problem. I got some people I've met who are just walking in their dojo and they're like, you want to teach tonight? I'm like, sure. Nice. Yeah, it was about 10, it's probably almost 15 years ago. God, I'm getting old. Well, 15 years ago, I was just working out on before class one time, and this gentleman came into our school and he started talking about this. He was doing this seminar. He was calling it this all martial arts seminar, where he was bringing in people from other styles and he was going to do it as a fundraiser. And so we started talking to him and stuff, and we went and attended it, and it was okay. There was I think 5 or 6 different styles that showed up, and unfortunately not a lot of people showed up. So I talked to the guy and I'm like, I'll tell you what, let's do this next year. Let me help. I said, first of all, you can do it at our school, because our school at the time was 4,000 square feet, way bigger than the hotel room he was renting. I said, we won't charge you. And I said, we'll do it as a fundraiser. And I said, let me help market it. And the next year we ended up, it had to be a 2-day event because we had so many instructors I got a hold of that came in. We had Jiu-Jitsu, we had boxing, we had Shaolin Kempo, we had MMA, we had pure boxing, we had Taekwondo, we had Shotokan, we had Aikido, we had Hapkido. It was judo, Jiu-Jitsu. It was cool. And it was a success. I mean, he made money for the charity we did it, and a lot of people showed up. And I think we only charged people like $20 for the whole weekend. You can come in, you can sit and watch.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you can sit and watch, or you can jump in and learn whatever you want to do. And it was successful. And afterwards, I'm like, hey, let's start talking about next year. And he's like, all right, well, we'll talk in a few months. And a few months later, he's like, yeah, I just want to go back to the small way I did it before. I'm like, no one showed up when you did it before. I'm like, that's fine that you want. And I went the next year, I went and stopped in, and literally there was like 5 people there in the seminars. I felt bad, but I'm like, if you ever change your mind, I'd love to do this again. It was so much fun and people loved it. And I've had people come up to me, when are you guys doing that again? Like, I don't know. So
I just did an event like that over the weekend.
Oh, cool.
I love big seminars like that where
Mm-hmm.
different styles come in and you get to see something you've never seen before. Great way to make new friends and
Yes.
connections. And I love that. Yeah, we had everything from jiu-jitsu, karate, stick fighting, kung fu, aikido, bando, which is like
Yep.
guys that work with the kurka.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was all there.
That's cool.
I think there's another one coming up in September and November I'll be going to.
I'd love to put one of those on again, because I want to get the last one I did, the guy couldn't make it, but he said if I ever do it again, call him. And he's a capoeira instructor. I've never seen capoeira live in person. And I just think that'd be so
me
fun.
neither.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Wouldn't that be so cool? And that's just, because of the movie Only the Strong, obviously, is where I learned about it.
One of my favorites.
Mine too. So I'm hoping to do that again sometime. Maybe talk to my instructor and say, hey, the other guy doesn't want to do it. Let's do it. Let's do this some weekend and have fun and maybe do it. Maybe do it like in connection with his tournament or something. But who knows? But it'd be fun. It's a blast. I still have some video footage from that and from learning different things. And that's kind of the reason I started the podcast, just to meet more people and talk to people from other styles and like you said, make friends and whatever. I mean, I'm coming up on, I think, 110 episodes. So a little over 2 years.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I know. I keep looking through. I'm like, I got so many episodes to catch up on here.
Yeah, I've had some good ones. I just last night had a wonderful interview. It'll be the episode that comes out right before yours with Bill Superfoot Wallace. Wow.
Oh,
wow.
I love Bill Superfoot Wallace. I did one, and he came to Canada a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was still doing Taekwondo.
Yep.
And I went to one of his seminars. And
so good.
Super nice man, funny.
Yep.
The one thing I remember was, I don't have time to learn all your names, so I'll probably call you scumbags.
Nice. I did a seminar with him in 1991. That's how long ago I first met Bill Wallace. So it was quite a while ago. And I remember that, I got to hold the target for one of his kicks. And I'm like, I think I said something like, I blinked. Can you please do that again? Because it was so fast. Like, wow. Yeah. And it's cool meeting people like that. And like you said, the stories you get to hear and the things you get to learn, it's so much fun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Just meet people from all over.
Yeah, definitely. Think back to when you were in Taekwondo, the first time you taught a class. Think about that to now. You're running your own school. How has your teaching style changed over the years?
That's a good question. I think I pay a lot more attention to the smaller details.
Okay.
And those little intricate ones that maybe some people miss. I know I was nervous teaching my first class.
Yeah, me too.
But had lots of encouragement and just grew. My instructor always gave me advice. Some of the higher black belts would give me some advice. Mm-hmm. That really helped. And as for jiu-jitsu, I think my technique got better when I taught.
Yes, I agree 100%.
Because I could see what my instructor was doing to me, because I was always uki for him.
Yep.
So I could, when I started teaching more jiu-jitsu and then doing things and certain things would click, like, that's what he was doing.
Yep. Yeah, I noticed the same
so
thing.
A lot of,
you learn it so much better when you teach it to other people. Such a huge benefit to your own martial arts. When I started teaching, I had my notebook of all my techniques, and I started a second notebook that was my instructor notebook, because I knew I would describe the technique different if I was teaching it. So I had, if I'm learning it, here it is, and if I'm teaching it, this is what my notes say. So I had 2 completely different sets of notes, which was helpful.
That's a good idea. I don't make notes. I probably should.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I never did until I got into Taekwondo. My Taekwondo, my Tang Judo instructor and Shotokan instructor never really, if they talked about it, I don't remember it, but my Taekwondo instructor that I'm still with since 1994, he drills that. He's like, after class, he's like, all right, 5 minutes left, go get your notebook, write down what we worked on, or a lot of times if we're going to be doing a lot of stuff, he'll have us get it, during class and have it sitting behind us, and we'll learn something, we'll write it down, we'll learn something, we'll write it down. And actually, I remember for my black belt test back in 1996, I was so nervous. So what I did was, since I had working in radio and had access to recording stuff, so I actually recorded myself reading my notes. I basically did my own audiobook, and I used to play it in my I played it in my Walkman when I was working out. And it helped.
That's what I haven't heard in a long time.
little old school, but it helped. I'd be listening to that when I was sleeping or when I was working out, and be like, basic 1 step, number 1, do this, and it was describing the technique. And I honestly believe I probably wouldn't have passed if it wasn't for that.
I probably should write stuff down, but I tell my students they should get notebooks and write stuff down.
Yeah.
And yet I don't do it myself.
Lead by example, sir. I have to. I mean, I'd never remembered if I didn't.
Yeah. My jiu-jitsu black belt test first stand was brutal.
How long?
8 hours.
Holy crap. Really?
Yep. So you do, 6 to 8 hours.
Okay.
You do all the curriculum, but he would throw surprises in every once in a while. It could be somebody just attacking you from behind and throwing you, and you have to fight to get up, or it could be somebody attacking you with a weapon. The very end is kind of like a Shark Tank. So you grapple everybody, no breaks. Somebody's just coming in every 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and you could tap as much as you want it. But our instructor just didn't want to hear, I give up. Because if you said, I give up, you didn't get your black belt.
Wow. He
just wanted you to see that even though you're tired, you've been beat up, you can still pull something off and win the fight.
Right.
That was our test. I was so sore like following week after that.
See, now I feel bad because I always told people mine was brutal at 2.5 hours. And I've had so many of my guests be like, mine was 4 hours. Mine was 6 hours. Mine was 10 hours. I'm like, oh my God. Mine was easy, I guess. Like, geez. It'd be, you can do a lot in 2.5 hours too, though. So I had one guest I interviewed a few weeks ago that he was telling me how he conducted his black belt test. And after listening to it, I was tired just listening to him talk about it. I'm like, oh my, they start at like 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. They go work out at the beach. Then they jog back like 3 or 4 or 5 miles to the school and do all this other stuff. And this tech, I'm like, oh my God, it sounds like fun, but that's insane.
Yeah, I'm just tired listening to you tell me about it.
Exactly. But who knows? If I was younger, I'd probably do it.
Probably. I know people that say their black belt test lasts for 2 days. I'm like, why?
I've heard a few
of those. They're like, one day is this and the next day is that. I'm like, oh, all right.
Yeah. So, probably wasn't 2 full days, most likely, but still. I've also heard people that, like styles where they don't find out, some styles where you don't find out you actually passed or not for like a month or 2 later. I'm like, that would drive me crazy.
Oh yeah, that would drive me insane.
Every school I've been to, I found out that day. Luckily.
Yeah, that's when we found out. I don't think I could wait a month.
Oh no, that would be insane. What do you think? Now I know you kind of mentioned you saw the UFC, and that's kind of what drew you towards jiu-jitsu and trying to learn that style. So I'm just curious, are you more a fan of the old school UFC when there was like, almost no rules and no weight classes, or are you more a fan of the newer, more refined sport style of it?
I'm more of the fan of the newer refined.
Are you? Okay.
Rules. I think, don't get me wrong, I like the old brutal stuff, but
yeah.
I just think the way it is now, you get to see the fighters, the way they train a little bit better, and they're better athletes now than back then, and more complete fighters. So that's what I like about it.
So do you guys train in MMA at your school at all? Do you have any guys who have gone on and fought?
Not yet, but we're getting our kickboxing instructor there, Mark Medeiros, is getting one of his students ready to fight in a kickboxing match.
Oh, cool. Hopefully kickboxing is starting to make a big comeback. I know at least in the States, there's a couple things happening, and I've seen a few more advertisements for kickboxing tournaments. So I love kickboxing. I've only been to like 3 or 4 matches in my life, and it's been over 20 years since I've seen one live. So I'm really hoping it does make a comeback really big time.
Me too. I think it's starting to down in the States and up here. I see more advertisements for it now. I used to love watching K1. Still love watching K1.
So how is the local, is there a pretty good local fight scene? Do you have some local kickboxing matches, local MMA matches that are pretty decent and well attended?
They're well attended. I have not yet been to one of our local ones because every time they're on, usually a weekend I got to work. I'm like,
Okay.
But I've heard good things from people that have gone. So hopefully I'll catch one of our local shows soon.
Nice.
Some of the people that have fought in them, I've known and done pretty well. So
okay,
it's good to hear that it's a good scene around here.
So who are maybe 3, 4, 5 names you would put on your personal Mount Rushmore of martial arts? Is the top of your list, people you consider, whether they're people you've known and trained with or people you just look up to, like a Chuck Norris or a Bruce Lee type thing? Who are, 3, 4, 5 names you'd just put up on that pedestal?
2, my Taekwondo and Jiu-Jitsu instructor for sure.
Nice.
Sang Seat was my Taekwondo instructor, and Daryl LaFrance is my Jiu-Jitsu instructor. So them for sure. Then I'd have to go with Chuck Norris.
Nice.
I just watched Lone Wolf McQuade again the other night.
Love that movie.
Oh, me too.
I haven't watched it in a while, but man, it's so good. And a lot of people don't realize that's basically what led to Walker, Texas Ranger. If it wasn't for Lone Wolf McQuade, we would have never had Walker.
Yes, exactly. Philip Ree.
Very cool.
I have to say the Ree brothers together.
I've had Simon on the show, and I'm working on Philip. So
yes, I listened to the Simon one. I'm like, that's good. And now, and I was thinking in my head, like, you got to get Philip on now.
Philip's busy. He said yes. He's very busy. So I'm hoping to lock him down soon and maybe get that interview done before summer. Simon was awesome, and I'm excited to chat with Philip too.
And then I have to go with Jackie Chan and Mark DeCosta.
Nice. Some good answers there. Mark's another one I'd love to get on the show. I actually reached out invited his mom to be on the show and haven't heard back from her yet. But I'd love to get.
Nice.
I'd love to get Mark on the show though.
That'd be fantastic.
Some of the big stars are harder to reach.
Yeah, one more for jiu-jitsu would be Chris Howder.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, that's pretty well it.
Okay.
There's so many that inspire me. It's hard.
Yeah. I know. I used to ask when I first started, I don't know if you remember, if you listen to any of the older episodes, but I used to ask just for like one, like, who's your favorite? Who's the one you put in? And no one could ever come up with one. That's why I came up with the Mount Rushmore thing. Like, give me 3. And I've had people give as few as 2 and as many as 8 or 9. So I don't put a limit on it unless I just keep going and going and going. I'm like, all right, I think 30 is enough on your list. So we'll stop now.
Yeah. There's so many, like all the 90s action stars, like Richard Norton and Cynthia Rothrock. Like, I grew up watching all of them.
Oh, and me, I mean, I think mine would change daily anyway, and especially after doing this show.
Probably.
Because some of these people, like just the 2 you just mentioned, who I've actually got to now have conversations with and interview on my show, Richard and Cynthia, I've never done that before. And I could easily say my list would change probably every single day. If someone asked me that question, it would just depend on my mood. I mean,
exactly.
My 2 go-tos would probably always be Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee, just because. And then from there, it would depend on what mood I'm in or what movie I watched recently. So
pretty much, I'm the same way a little bit. I think you did have Kathy Long on your show, I believe, right?
Yep, love Kathy, such a sweetheart.
Oh, had a huge crush on her back in the day.
Nice. She was so nice and so wonderful to talk to, and her and Bill Wallace did the first UFC together. They commentated it.
But I remember I used to have pictures of her on my wall. I listened to that one for sure.
That's cool.
Maybe she'll listen to this episode.
Hey, you never know. I know a lot of my guests say they listen, so I appreciate anyone who listens. But if someone like that wants to listen and tell more people about it, I'm all for it.
No, my wife's going to be like, "Who's this Kathy Long girl?"
See, look at that poster behind my door. All right. In all your years of martial arts, what is one philosophy you've learned that rises to the top? Super important. You keep coming back to it.
Always be humble and kind.
That's a good one.
I try to live by that because there's always somebody bigger and better and can always show you something different.
Very cool. Got a few fun questions here. How about a favorite martial arts book?
Zen in the Martial Arts and the Book of 5 Rings.
Nice. Joe Hyams. I love Zen in the Martial Arts. That's the one I recommend to anyone who's like, I want a martial arts book. Zen in the Martial Arts by Joe Hyams. That's the first one you got to get.
One of my students the other day goes, "What's a good book?" I go, "Zen in the Martial Arts."
Nice. Yep. Joe Hyams and Musashi. You can't go wrong with either one of those two. So.
Yep, that's right.
How about this one? You're probably around my age. So how about a favorite martial arts video game?
Oh, yep. It was the old karate one.
Was it
I
like
think it was just called karate.
was it like like Karate Fighter, that one?
Yeah, that's the one.
God, I remember that one. Playing that in the arcade.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I used to love that game.
You can play it online, but it's not the same.
No, I don't think it would be. I need the old arcade version one.
You got to have the joystick and you got to have the buttons. Yeah, it's just, so I can't play the new games. I can't play like the Nintendos and it's not the same as holding a joystick in your hand, and so much cooler.
I don't even own a gaming system.
I think we have a Wii, because we bought one when our kids were young, and the only thing I've ever done in there is like Wii bowling. So otherwise I don't really, and I probably haven't played that in 10 years. And we had a PlayStation back in the day. I got a PlayStation back in the late 90s, mainly because my martial arts instructor, my Taekwondo instructor, was really big into video games. And he'd always invite students to play. I'm like, I want to make sure I get invited. So I went and bought a PlayStation. We'd get together on weekends and we'd go to other people's houses and we'd play video games. So it was kind of fun for a few years.
My kids had all that stuff, and
yeah.
I mean, I played Xbox and PlayStation. I could never get into it. I'd much rather be training or doing something else.
So you mentioned kids. Do your kids do martial arts?
Not any of them.
No interest at all?
No interest. The oldest one, a little bit. He'll play around with me, but it never turns out good for him in the
end. Nice.
And I used to tell him it's not abuse when I call it training.
What sports are they into then?
Nothing. They don't
really
do anything.
Oh man.
Now they're 26, 24, and 18.
Okay. Oh, a little older than my kids. My oldest one is 23. All my kids did martial arts from age 5. Let's see. My oldest one did it from 5 until I think he was 14. My middle son did it from 5 until he was, I think, 12 or 13. And my daughter did it till she was, I think, 13. Then she stopped for like a couple of years. Then she went back to it for like 6 months. And then she stopped again. And now she's talking about hopefully going back to it again sometime. So they all tried it at least.
Hopefully. Yeah. Well, I mean, they did try it. It just wasn't for them. Yeah. So I never pushed them into it.
All right. How about I know you mentioned being a movie buff. We'll get to that part, but how about a favorite martial arts TV show?
Well, have to be Walker, Texas Ranger, and Kung Fu.
Nice.
The old Kung Fu.
Yeah, the old one. Now, did you watch did you watch the one the sequel that was like 1991, 1992, The Legend Continues?
I did.
Okay. See, I'm one of the few I actually liked that one.
I didn't mind it, but I like the older one better.
Yeah, and I couldn't get into the new one. I tried the new one. I gave it like 4 or 5 episodes, and it just wasn't the same. But I loved Walker. Walker, I don't think I missed an episode of. I watched the whole series probably multiple times, so that's always a good pick.
Yeah, same here.
And a lot of my guests have been on that show, which is awesome.
Yes, they have.
All right, now this one I'm waiting for. The favorite martial arts movie, and if it's not a Chuck Norris movie, I also want to know your favorite Chuck Norris movie.
Favorite martial arts movie is Best of the Best.
Cool.
I watched that one multiple times. I could probably act out the movie for you.
Nice. I watch it at least once a year. I watched it about 3 months ago. So.
Yeah. Favorite Chuck Norris movie?
Yep.
There's a couple. The Octagon and Lone Wolf McQuade.
Nice. See, mine's usually either Lone Wolf McQuade, Invasion USA, or I love the movie Sidekicks, the comedy with Joe Piscopo.
Yes.
I love that fight scene with those two at the end. It gets me laughing so loud every time.
Yeah, when he kicks him and Joe's doing like the backflip in the air.
The facial expressions and yeah, so cool. That's another one. I haven't watched Invasion USA in years. I need to watch that. And I was at my mom's house last fall helping her clean out her garage. And up in the rafters of the garage. So when I was a kid, I used to collect movie posters. Our local movie theater would give us stuff. And up in the rafters of the garage, still in pretty darn good shape, I have the 6-foot cardboard poster for Delta Force.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. With Chuck Norris and Lee Marvin. And
I used to collect movie posters too.
Nice. I wish I could have brought that back with me, but it would have never fit in my car. So it's still in the rafters of my mom's garage. I'll have to go one of these days. I'm going to have to find a way to get it. And I don't know where I put it. It was Lee Marvin's last movie and just a great Chuck Norris movie. So yeah. All right. This question doesn't have to be a martial arts movie, just a favorite movie fight scene.
Oh, so many.
Yeah, there's a lot of, and I tell people, I've had people say anything from Star Wars and Marvel to Princess Bride to Rocky to Bruce Lee movies. So anything goes.
You ever seen the movie They Live?
Oh yeah, I just watched it. My daughter loves 80s movies, so we've been watching 80s movies like crazy. And we just watched They Live. I bought the DVD, and we watched They Live about 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, so when Roddy Piper and Keith David are fighting in the alleyway.
Oh, nice. You're the first one to pick that one. I guarantee it. That's awesome.
Oh, that fight scene's so great. It lasts for like 5 minutes.
Yep. Neither one will give up. They're just like half dead, half tired, and they're just beating the crap out of each other. And
I'd say it'd have to be that one and the hallway fight scene in The Raid.
You're probably the third person that said that one. That one's getting a lot of people seem to like that one. And one of my favorites is, I think a few people have said it now, but in The Bourne Identity, the Matt Damon one, the apartment fight scene when at the end when the guy just jumps out the window. But that fight scene there, and then the one in the park when he's sleeping on the bench and the cops wake him up.
Yeah.
Not really a fight scene, more like just him brutalizing them for like 30 seconds, but still pretty cool.
There's so many to choose from there too, like all the John Wick ones. And
you mentioned you like action movies. That's why I was looking forward to hearing your answer for that one. So, like, what's your all-time favorite action movie? If let's say you just bought a brand new 70-inch TV and surround sound, what's the first movie you're putting on to watch?
Oh, you know what? Funny enough, it'll be John Wick.
Would it? Nice.
Yep. I love all those movies. I can't wait to see the fourth one.
Very cool. That's another person. I wouldn't mind getting Keanu Reeves on the show. I know that one will be very difficult, but
yes,
you got a dream.
Probably. And then I think I'd have to put Best of the Best up there too. The fight scene between Simon and Philip at the end.
Yeah, that is a good one. And I like the one in Best of the Best 2 when they team up. That's a good fight scene too.
Yes.
I think I told Philip that when he was on the show, but that one kick he did where he did that in the air side kick into the turning side kick in one jump.
I know.
As soon as he did that, me and my buddy went to the gym right after the movie, and we were there till 2 a.m. perfecting that kick. we have to learn this. We have to learn this. Yeah. I don't know if I could pull it off now, but I'd be willing to try.
That's pretty much how I learned to do my spinning hook kick.
Nice. Okay.
Was watching Philip Ree. I'm like, I got to learn that spinning hook kick. It was so beautiful.
Yep. I know until I interviewed Simon, I never knew Philip wrote that movie. That's another reason I can't wait to talk to him about that. But I never knew I love that movie, and I watched it probably 100 times before I interviewed him, and I never knew Philip wrote that. So.
Oh, yeah.
Before I let you go, anything that I haven't asked you, anything that we want to be sure to mention, and when the show comes out, I will put a link for your school on there, and anything else you want me to put a link to, but anything you want to make sure we get out there before I let you go?
Well, this always shocks people when I tell them how many gis I have.
Yeah?
I have 55 gis.
Holy crap. Really? God, I thought I had a lot. I have like 14. Wow. 55? How many of those do you still use, and how many of them just like you haven't touched them in years?
I use quite a bit of them.
Really?
I try to get to them all.
Yeah.
Doesn't always happen.
Okay.
I do have my favorites.
Yeah. So how many days will you wear one before you got to wash it usually? One day or?
Oh yeah. Once I've worn it, it goes in the wash.
Yep.
Yeah.
See, that's why I end up at one point, because my first year or two in Taekwondo, I owned one. And then when I started really getting close to my black belt and started working out more with friends on the weekends, I'm like, I need to buy a few more of these because this is starting to stink, and I don't like washing things by hand. So that's when I got 3 or 4 more. And
that's kind of what I was like. My wife thinks I have an addiction problem.
That's a good addiction to have, though. At least you're using them. That's the thing.
Yeah, I keep telling her I could have worse addictions.
That's awesome.
Sorry, it doesn't actually end there. I have quite the collection of rash guards, T-shirts, hoodie sweaters.
So where do you keep them?
Well, before we moved into our current place, we lived in a basement apartment, and I had a walk-in closet.
Okay.
So my gis are there. Now they're in the basement, hung up on a rack.
I figured maybe you just have a private closet at your dojo. You just have them all hanging there.
I should.
So I'm looking at the pictures here. So about how much square footage, how much training space do you have at your gym? Looks like it's a decent size.
Yeah, it's a fair size. Not exactly sure. I think it's 30 by 40, 50 maybe.
Okay.
I've never took the time to measure it.
Okay. And how many students about?
About 40 altogether. 20 kids, 20 adults. Still growing.
Right down the middle. Okay, cool. Well, like I said, I'll put links out there, and if any of my listeners are in your area and want to come check it out and come roll for a while, I'll definitely get them in touch with you. But I appreciate your time. This has been a lot of fun. Like I said, like we talked about before, it's just fun getting to know people and learning people from different styles and hearing their stories and stuff. And I've really enjoyed this, and I can't wait to get the episode out in a few weeks.
Oh, thank you very much. It was a pleasure. I'm glad we got to do this. I have to thank Chris Hansen for hooking us up.
Yep, Chris, another former guest of the show. I love Chris, and he's a great guy. I actually was just chatting with him about a week ago about possibly doing some virtual workouts together. So I might be taking him up on that.
Oh, nice. Well, if you ever put on the big martial arts seminars, make sure to let us know. I'm sure we would come down.
I will, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I'll talk to my instructor, because now, especially now with this show, I have a lot more contacts than I used to. And I know there's more people I could probably get to do it. So it could be a fun thing. I'll have to, it's tough now because my instructor, he basically leases part of his school to a judo school, and they now do weekend classes. We used to do a lot of that stuff in the weekends because the gym was completely open. But I suppose if I talk to them and say, hey, you guys can be part of this too, and maybe they'll give up their weekend classes so we can do a 2-day seminar again. So it'd be fun.
Well, I'm sure they would.
Well, if we do it, I will definitely, like I said, I'll reach out to all my guests and tell them, and hopefully get some of them to come join in and just do a weekend of lots of martial arts training. It'd be fun. Yeah, that'd be great. I haven't been to the States in a long time. Well, there we go. It'll be fun. And we just won't do it in the winter because no one wants to come to Fargo, North Dakota in the winter. So the first day of spring was 2 days ago, and we just had a blizzard last night. So it's no fun. I hate winter. Me too. But once again, it's been a blast talking to you, and we will be in touch, sir. All right. Thank you very much, Brian. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist. We hope you will join us every week for a brand new episode with a different martial artist telling their story. If you enjoy the show, be sure to leave us a review. Also, be sure to check out our website at everydaymartialartist.com. There you can find all of our episodes and contact us to suggest guests and ask questions. Again, thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist, and we'll see you next week.